Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Team America rally. And I'll be too. All right, so let's see. What should I say? SpaceX does rock. Indeed. Actually, I'm pretty excited about the possibility of SpaceX, and just generally becoming a spacefaring civilization, going beyond where we went in the past with where we went to the moon. It's crazy that we went to the moon over 50 years ago was the last time anyone went to the moon. And a lot of people think we didn't go to the moon, but we did. We did. Yeah, the Soviets would have called us out on that one if we hadn't gone to the moon. They would be like, they would have called bullshit on that one, 100%. But yeah, we need to go back to. We should not just go back to the moon. We should have a moon base, you know, like moon base alpha, you know, like an actual base with like a science station. That'd be sick, you know, and I think we want to become a multi-planet species and be out there among the stars. We want to make Starfleet real, you know, so that like you should be able to go to Mars if you want to go to Mars. It'd be like amazing, you know. Well, it'll take 6 months. So Mars is far. But we can do it. We can create a base on Mars and ultimately build a city on Mars and make life multiplanetary. I think that would be super cool. Yeah, I mean, you know, life can't just be about like, you know, solving one miserable problem after another. There have to be things that inspire you, that excite you about the future, that you look forward to. You're like, wow, that's going to be cool. And I think being a spacefaring civilization and you know, having a city on Mars and going out there exploring the moons of Jupiter, ultimately getting to other star systems would be incredibly exciting. And something you're like, wow, you could really look forward to that. That'd be like, I don't know, incredible. So, you know, go out there and find like maybe alien civilizations, you know, like in Star Trek, you know, go where you've never gone before. So yeah, let's make Starfleet real. Yeah. You know, meanwhile, back here on Earth, we need to. I think we definitely need to get President Trump reelected. That is that is I think incredibly important. I mean, I think we don't. I think America is great, but we want to be greater, and we want to do amazing things, and we don't want you know, like the Apollo program to be our high watermark. We want to, you know, do great things in America, and I think we also want to preserve what has made America great. You know, so you know things like freedom of speech, like. You know, the right to bear arms, these things in the Constitution that are actually, you know, important. You have to say, why did they add these amendments to the Constitution? It was because in the places that people came from, if you said what you wanted to say, you'd be put in prison or you'd be killed. And they took everyone's guns away so that, you know, they couldn't rebel against oppressive government. That's the whole idea behind taking the guns away. So I'm a big believer in the Constitution, big believer in you know, what makes America great, and then we also need like some obvious things, like we need actual secure borders, you know. It's like you, you know, you're not a country if you don't have like a border. Like like what does it even mean to be a country at that point? You know. And I went to the border just to see for myself what it was like, and it's like World War Z at the border. You know, like this is crazy, man. So obviously, I'm in favor of immigrants that add to the country where it's well vetted. I'm like one myself, so obviously, but we can't just have like total zombie apocalypse at the border. This is crazy. We also have to have safe cities, and so it's like it's nutty. It's insane that, I mean, you walk around the streets of really almost any major U.S. city, and it's unsafe. I mean, it's like a sort of drug zombie apocalypse. I mean, it's nuts. So, like, why is that? I went to college in Philadelphia for 3 years, really enjoyed my time here. It was awesome. Now it was dangerous back then, but then I met someone who graduated recently, and they said it's actually even more dangerous. I'm like, it was more dangerous? We had a body count back then. I'm like, yeah, like okay, that's crazy. So I mean, I think we're the most powerful country in the world. We should have. It should be safe. You should be able to walk around your city and not feel in danger, So it's like it's basic stuff. It's common sense, yeah. And then like government spending and sort of what I call overregulation, like slow strangulation by overregulation, is what's going on. And so, yeah, it's the insane government spending is driving the country into bankruptcy. Just like a person, if you spend too much, eventually you go bankrupt. The federal debt's growing by $1 trillion every 3 months. Our defense budget is pretty gigantic. It's $1 trillion, but the interest that we owe on the debt is now higher than the defense budget, over $1 trillion and growing. This is not sustainable. So we have to do something about that, or the country's going to go bankrupt. So that's an essential thing too. Yeah. So that's why we need the Department of Government Efficiency. DOGE. That's on a brass plaque on a desk. It's going to be amazing. So, exactly. As people were saying, it's just like it's common sense stuff, and America really just needs to remain the land of opportunity, the land where your success is a function of how hard you work and your talent. Like if you're talented and hardworking, that should be the only thing that determines whether you are successful. That's it. And America is also supposed to be the land of freedom. That means personal freedom. Like the government should not be imposing all these rules on people, and it's like yeah. So government overreach is not cool. Freedom. Yeah, exactly. Twitter files. I mean, it was just nutty. People don't realize just how much government involvement there is in the media, and like how much the government influences the media. I mean, it's crazy how you'll see in fact I think like whoever's manipulating the media should mix it up a bit, because they're really not doing a great job. When it was a week before the debate between Biden and Trump, and everyone was on the media was saying Biden was sharp as a tack. Sharp as a tack, sharp as a tack, sharp as a tack, sharp as a tack. I mean, like, you should mix it up a little. Get a thesaurus. Okay. the NBC media puppets were just all saying exactly the same thing. So, it's just kind of strange that, and do they all just get the same memo at the same time? I don't know. Where does it come in? I want to see the group text, okay? Is there an email copy list or what? Everyone say the same thing at the same time. Yeah, just total puppets.
You'll see it next month.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. So, well, let's see. What I find is really engaging is when people are able to ask questions or make comments. And so, if anybody wants to, let's try to keep the comments reasonably short. Any monologue should be ideally kept to less than a minute. But just far away, and I'll try to answer questions and respond to comments and.
If you're over Tesla, can you jump the line?
Well, yeah, sure. So. Hi.
My question is, what makes you so interested in politics now? Why is this so important to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, don't bring the mic that close. Whoa. Yeah, the question is why politics now and versus in the past I really have not been meaningfully involved in politics. So the reason is that I think we're at a crossroads. This time I think we're at a crossroads, a fork in the road of destiny. What I see happening under the sort of Biden and Kamala administration is a level of sort of government overreach and manipulation that is extremely troubling. And I also see really a deliberate attempt to import as many people as possible into swing states like Pennsylvania in order to ensure that there is a permanent one state, that America becomes a permanent one-party state. The numbers are truly staggering, and the sort of fake legacy media doesn't report on them. The only reason anyone knows about it is if you're on the X platform. But it's crazy. But you're seeing basically increases. This is from the government website, by the way, which is run by Democrats. So, you're seeing in some cases 700% increases in the past 3.5 years in illegals in swing states. What a coincidence! And when you're talking about elections that are won or lost by 10 or 20,000 votes, and then you bring in 200,000 people, and then you put them on the fast track to citizenship. This is without considering any cheating. This is legalized. That if that happens over the next 4 years, there will be no swing states. They're importing voters. I think that's obvious to anyone who looks, and we will have a situation like we have in California, where it's a one-party state. California is a supermajority Dem state, and so it's one-party rule. And if you have one-party rule, that's not a democracy. So I think either action is taken now. If there was another 4 years and it's really pointless to even sort of talk about Kamala. Kamala is just a puppet of a larger machine. If the machine, I'll just call it the machine, is able to run for another 4 years, there will not be any meaningful elections in the future, just like there aren't in California. And all of America will be Californicated. Not in a good way. Yeah, Californicated. Ouch. So we don't want that. That would be a bad situation. In fact, it will actually be worse than California. The reason it'll be worse than California is the one thing that holds California back from being even worse than it is that people can move out of California and still be in America. Now, what happens when there's no place to move? It'll be way worse than California. That's why I think, yeah, exactly. Well, and speaking of Mars, like what we're seeing, with SpaceX, Tesla, and whatnot, is that the sort of regulatory oppression year after year is worse and worse. And there's more regulatory agencies created every year, more rules and regulations every year, until eventually everything is illegal. We had our rocket sitting on the pad for 2 months, ready to fly. How is it possible that SpaceX could build a gigantic rocket faster than the government could move paper from one desk to another? So this is. So if that trend continues, which it will do unless there's a conscious effort to have deregulation and have sensible regulation, then Mars will be impossible. We will be forever confined to Earth. So, I definitely think that's a major showstopper. Is being so heavily regulated that we are confined to Earth forever. And that would be a sad eulogy if future aliens see us. You come back and they almost made it. Too bad they regulated themselves. And they had the rocket and everything. So I guess the short answer is I think this is incredibly important. That ironically, there's a lot of people on the Dem side that call Trump a threat to democracy. I think, in fact, they are the threat to democracy. Thank you.
What is that? Hi, Elon. I want to thank you for coming. I'm from Deep Blue, Northeast Philadelphia, and I just want to say thank you for all you've been doing, your contributions. And my question is, did you expect the impact that buying X would have on the world and the United States, free speech, even into the America PAC movement?
Yeah, well, I mean, the reason I didn't realize it would have as big of an impact as it has come to have. But the reason I felt that it was important to acquire Twitter was because I could feel the walls closing in. It was outrageous that they suspended the account of a sitting president. I mean that's insane. And I think it was only a matter of time before they suspended my account, frankly. And for sure, given the stuff I've said lately, they would have suspended me 6 ways to Sunday. So, I mean, really, Twitter and pretty much all the social media companies and Google and everyone are controlled by far-left activists. That's the truth of it. And so then, how do you know what's real when it's all filtered through a far-left San Francisco, Berkeley lens? They just manipulate the truth constantly. You can't even find the truth if you Google it, because Google's, put it on page 6. And I mean, I don't want to pick on Google too much. I mean, I have a lot of friends there, but it's very easy to tweak the results, because the joke goes like, what's the best place to hide a dead body? Well, second place are Google search results, because nobody ever goes there. So you don't really have to, in order to hide information, you don't have to delete it. You just move it to the second page, and it's just people don't go there.
Buy Google too.
Yeah, that would be tough. That's a tricky one. But hey, at least there's one place where you can find out what's actually going on, what's real, and that's the X platform. And I want to say, like, you know, we're very rigorous on the X platform about being a fair playing field, a level playing field, being fair to all sides. There's not a single account on the left that's been suppressed. Not one. No suspensions, nothing. I believe in being fair. You know, and once in a while we do get like a request for something on the right that's, you know, would be slightly censorious, and we're like, nope, we're not going to do that. So, you know, we are rigorous about being fair. Unlike the prior regime, we are actually fair, and we want both sides to say their piece, and to let there be a free debate, and let the marketplace of ideas, you know, work, and let the best ideas win, and that's the right thing to do.
Hello, Elon. As an IT guy of 26 years, I think one of the smartest things you did was firing most of the Twitter staff.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about corruption in the election systems, in the DOJ and judicial system. I personally think a lot of that is because of blackmail data stored on government servers. I strongly feel that if we can't control the information that is stored by the three-letter agencies, we will never get control of the country. What are your ideas on things Trump can do to drain the swamp without being overwhelmed by their dirty tricks?
Well, I mean, as the saying goes, sunlight is the best disinfectant. So I think really just making as much information as possible public, available to the public, so that you can see what's going on. There's like, you know, I mean, I do have a top secret clearance, but I have to say, like, most of the stuff that I'm aware of in top secret, like the reason to keep it top secret is because it's so boring. Yeah, I mean, so, but I think like the strong bias with respect to government information should be to make it available to the public. Like, it should be, let's be as transparent as possible, like fully transparent, unless it's like a massive risk to the country, like it's like, you know, we don't want to give, like, say, exact instructions on how to make a nuclear bomb or something like that, you know. But unless there's a genuine risk to the country, all information in the government should be public. Yeah.
Hi, over here.
Oh, sorry.
I-
Hey.
I know I look like the same girl who just asked. I am her
It's hard to
twin.
tell because I just hear the speakers, so.
Okay. I am Denise's twin who just asked a question. I'm also from Deep Blue, far northeast Philadelphia in Parkwood. What I would like to ask you is, in applying the same efficiency that you did to removing 80% of the staff at Twitter to the Department of Governmental Efficiency, would you consider hiring Scott Pressler, who is an amazing
Sure.
movement
Absolutely.
for that efficiency?
Yes. And I should say, you know, hopefully if this comes to pass, then the Department of Government Efficiency is able to take action. We will reduce a lot of government headcount, but we're going to give, I think, like very long severances, like, I mean, like 2 years or something like that. So, look, just go do something else is what we're going to say, and you'll get paid for 2 years, you know. And so you got a lot of time to go and figure out something else to do. You know, it's like the point is not to be cruel or to you know have people not be able to pay their mortgage or anything. It's just we got to move people. We just have too many people in the government sector, and they could be more productive elsewhere.
Hey, Elon, it is a pleasure. Me and my best friend started a company when we were 21 years old. We're going to be the next biggest beef jerky company in the U.S., I promise that. But what advice do you have for young entrepreneurs like us to conquer a challenge that seems almost impossible from the beginning?
Well, I mean, generally, I think, you know, just try to make a good product or service, and I mean, it's not. It's really that, you know. It's like you have to say, like, what is a useful thing that you could do? Like, maximize your usefulness. What is if there's like what is that product or service that you want to make?
Beef jerky. The best beef jerky.
Okay, great. So you want to make the best beef jerky, just go ahead and do it. And then, you have to sort of just explain to people why it's, well, first of all, you need to make sure it is in fact the best beef jerky. And then you need to then explain to people why it is. And so if you have both the reality and the perception of something being the best beef jerky or whatever the product may be, then I think you'll find it will be very successful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the company is Open Road Jerky. Check us out.
All right, sounds good.
Hey there, Elon. My name's Josh. I drove down from Luzerne County today, which, by the way, has flipped red by registration. So
Yes.
nice work, everybody there.
Excellent.
Yeah. Another fun fact about the northeast part of Pennsylvania, July 3rd, 1778, the largest massacre that ever happened on American soil happened when the colonists, the French, and the natives all fought over that land. And I think it all circles back. It's now, fracking central. There's a lot of resources there, land, and just beautiful local communities.
Yeah.
And something that is happening at a rate that is inconceivable, really inconceivable, the centralization of power to global elites and far off abstracted places that we can't touch.
Yeah.
What are the ways that we bring that back to local people that can actually have an impact on the ground? Speaking with some people here,
Yeah.
I
totally agree.
do we move the departments around the United States so they're not all in D.C.? How do we get people on the ground empowered to actually make everyday changes in people's lives?
Well, I super agree with you. So I'm against globalist power. I think we should, the UN should not have a lot of power. And it's like, who voted for them? I didn't vote for them. And it's like, we want power to the people. The power should, maximum power to the individual. And so, if we should not have any sort of international treaties that restrict the freedom of Americans, and we should minimize the amount of federal interference at the state level. So it should be unless it's at the state level, which is something you can influence, then agencies at the federal and the national level should have minimal to zero power over you. Yeah.
Is there a way that we could decentralize data so that consumers own the data? What is the next step towards that? Because I feel like that is what actually gives us our sovereignty back.
Well, I guess I'm not sure how to decentralize the data. If the data is at least in multiple places, at least you should be able to locally store the data. I think individuals should own their own data. I think that's really important. If you want to separate yourself from a social media company, you should be able to take everything with you. So I'm in favor of any action that maximizes your freedom and liberty. So, yeah.
Hey, Elon. Tesla shareholder, owner since 2015. I own an S-Plaid. Thank you for making that thing because it's awesome. It's my daily driver. It's so much fun. But my heart is with SpaceX. And so my question is, how will you, with Trump, be able to deregulate so that we can get more launches and get to Mars?
Well, absolutely. That is a major factor for supporting President Trump. Is that if the sort of Kamala puppet machine happens, there's going to be just more and more regulations, and this slow strangulation by overregulation will continue. But Trump is very enthusiastic about deregulation, which is not to say we don't want any regulation. We just want sensible regulations. And I think if President Trump is elected, we can actually take those actions, and we can we can cut the strings. Like I feel like America is like Gulliver, tied down by a million little strings, and we need to cut those strings and free the giant.
Hey, man. Thank you so much for doing everything you're doing.
Welcome.
This is going to be a little long, but I think you're going to get a kick out of it.
Okay.
It's a sad story that turns into something funny you'll probably like.
All right.
So I was mostly a lifelong liberal, sort of like yourself.
Yeah.
Work in digital production and marketing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I believe in freedom. I believe in empathy. Like you should care about your fellow human beings, and I believe in free speech, which used to be a thing on the left, and now bizarrely they want censorship. I'm like, what?
Yeah. And thank you for buying Twitter and saving free speech, and Babylon being too.
Yeah.
That was great, man. Anyway, so I sort of have a case to plead to. Sorry, it's a little long. Anyway, I can't get into the details because there were legal issues and stuff, but years ago I had my life destroyed by crazy woke people because I was injured. I lived in Los Angeles for about 13 years.
Yep.
And when I wanted to seek out, a court case and stuff, I had someone in the legal system look me straight in the face and tell me, you're not the right kind of white guy. This isn't gonna play out well for you. And I immediately was like, what the?
Yeah, what? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't want to swear, but
sure.
Yeah. So, and I was like, is it because I'm from Pennsylvania, or I'm also Ashkenazi and Jewish, or maybe both? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was immediately like, what is happening? And so it put me in a bad spiral, and it lost, it just went crazy. So I was like, what? I'm always been a egalitarian person, and right.
I mean, racism in any form is bad, whether it doesn't matter who it's directed towards.
Yeah, and so, and I started, becoming more center-right instead of liberal, which is, it's an identity crisis because, it's a big change.
Sure.
And working in an industry, it's sort of like you understand in our industries, you feel like an outcast, and you don't really know who to talk to, and so it's awkward. So anyway, as a catharsis of sorts, I made this app called Pooper.
Okay.
And so it lets you put animated pooping animals on your text messages.
Okay. And
it's been charting for years, so since I made it.
It sounds funny.
Yeah, so I think you'd like it just because, sticking pooping animals on Mark Cuban's, if you're talking to him, you can stick it on his face or his text message and stuff.
Yeah.
And so he gets a gorilla pooping on his text message.
Yeah, I mean, I saw an interview with Mark Cuban and, what's her name again? Rachel Maddow. But I couldn't tell which was which.
So my question is, would you, because this destroyed me, I was really badly injured. I'm not saying you have to do it. I don't mean to put you on the spot. Would you consider implementing that kind of thing onto Twitter where you could, have a dinosaur or a monkey throwing poop and put it on top of Mark Cuban's, new stupid look that he has?
Well,
I mean, Business Insider.
About probably 5 million people have now heard about the pooper. Maybe 10 million. There's a lot of people going to watch this. So I think that's some solid publicity right there. Thank you.
Hello. Thanks for coming. You're going to help us win Pennsylvania and the entire race.
Yes. Well, I mean, I should say like it's incredibly important that everyone here and everyone listening, watching, that you go and make sure your friends, family, yourself are registered to vote, because the voting registration deadline in Pennsylvania ends at midnight on Monday. So there's only a few days left. So you just got to be a pest and hound everyone you know to make sure they're registered to vote and the registration is good, because it's a sort of, a shot clock ends at midnight on Monday. So. Ha! Go!
Because now you're going to be the head of the Doge. Have you thought about whether AI and blockchain can be used to track every dollar that the government spends, makes people accountable to the very last person, and we know exactly who agreed to a $400 toilet seat?
Yeah.
Can we do that? Is that in the
Actually,
set
that's a
of
good idea.
possibilities?
That's a good idea because actually trying to make sense of these incredibly complex laws and regulations where, you know, a law gets passed that's like longer than Lord of the Rings, and no one's actually read the thing, like literally there's not actually one human who's read the whole law, and then that law gets amplified by, you know, 100 times by the regulations that follow. I think the only thing that could comprehend that is an AI, basically. So I think that would actually be a good idea, is like saying, okay, AI, just tell us what's actually going on, where's the money getting spent, what does this law actually mean, and simplify it, really. So, yeah, I mean, the amount of government waste that happens is truly staggering. I mean, if you've been exposed to government contracting, it's pretty nutty. It's like beyond. So it's so crazy. It's hard to believe. So yeah. So I think there's basically a lot of room for improvement there, and the net result will be a significant improvement in, like I said, in personal freedom and the standard of living in America. So.
Hi, Mr. Musk. It is such an honor to be here with you. I am actually a former mainstream media journalist. I now teach martial arts in the city of Philadelphia to kids and also in Camden. And I find that the character skills that they need, they get through martial arts, not so much through the education they're getting. And with my journalism background,
That's great. I did martial arts too. It's great. It is a very healthy thing for kids to do, I think. Yeah, and adults too.
Yeah, I will spar you anytime.
Okay.
My question is, I have such like a strong desire for truth that I feel like looking at X, but also coming to events like this is the only way that I can truly feel that I confidently know what you're saying and how you're saying it, which I appreciate.
Yes.
What do we do for kids so that when they get older, they can see through it? Because what they're learning now, I think, falls short of not just the character, but also their ability to discern their own opinion.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. I think teaching kids critical thinking is very important. They should be taught critical thinking. It's like a mental firewall. You teach kids critical thinking at a young age, and just teach them the types of fallacies that they're likely to encounter, the sort of forms of trickery, like straw man fallacy, or sort of there's like the various ways that that information that like media or people will trick you, and just kind of immunizing kids effectively against that, I think early on would be a very good thing to do. Basically, just teach kids, like, don't be skeptical about what you're told. It may be true, it may not be true, or it may be that often there's a certain percentage chance that it is true, and you want to consider the evidence, weigh the evidence to decide what is the probability that a certain thing is true or not true, and then when you hear more evidence, then you change the probabilities. I mean, generally, like I believe in the sort of physics approach to thinking, which is that you're always you're always weighing the probabilities that something is true or not true, or that there may be a third explanation, and be very open to new facts changing your mind. So.
For free, that helps to promote like true journalism through anything, I'd be happy to do it. It would mean everything.
Well, thank you. I think I actually think that what we want to move to is really systems like X and other social media platforms too, hopefully, where you really have the sum of the voice of the people. In times past, we didn't have the technology for this, so the only way to learn news was for it to be filtered through a small number of news organizations, and then to be printed in newspapers or broadcast. there wasn't really any way that people could speak to each other or communicate with each other. But now there is. So because people can be online, and I'm a big believer in sort of citizen journalism, and actually being way better than, because see, like at first citizen journalism may sound like, well, doesn't that mean just a whole bunch of amateurs are doing journalism? No, actually it's way better, because if you have actual experts in the field saying things, that's way better than a journalist. If you have people who are actually at the event live, I mean, look at, say, the attempted assassination of President Trump, where people who are actually at the event live, video, people are reporting it. That's the kind of thing that is actually far better information than filtering it through a small number of publications, which ends up being controlled by maybe 5 editors-in-chief. There's like 5 people that control all the news. Even though there are multiple newspapers, it's New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, a few others, and they decide what is newsworthy. But that should not be how it works. It should be the voice of the people, the cumulative voice of the people, should decide what is newsworthy.
Thank you. First off, I want to thank Nicole here. She's the one that's holding the mic. Really awesome. I know you said you were a little spectrum autistic.
I mean, little, sure.
Yes. So the only reason I say that is out of every successful person I've ever seen, you are the one person that I can relate to the most. So I'm sorry if I'm all over the place a little bit. I remember you had stated that you hate the fact that every single time you hire someone for their talent instead of their passion. So I want to be able to say the Galileo test, I passed, Xavier passed, Don Lemon passed, DART test, SpaceX test, A12, I passed that one. The 95 test, that's the year 95, what you did to be able to do Zip 2. I've done that. Slave test, Steve Jobs test, reality goodness test. The reality of actually doing something good instead of just talking bullshit out their ass.
Exactly.
The Reid Hoffman test, which he scoffed at you because you were going to be the first man to be able to put life on Mars, but it was going to be a turtle. So now he kind of is walking back on that. But anyways, you guys were good friends. So I want to, I would classify myself, the easiest way is PNS, quantum engineer, and my friend Brandon, and my wife, Theo, and Brandon's over there. I want to give you my business card.
Okay.
If you have 5 seconds,
All right.
5 seconds.
Well, we have to move on to questions. So it's either question. Just to be clear, the goal of the questions is to ask questions that you think the public would be interested in hearing the answer to. To be clear, that is that's what we're after.
Okay.
So, you want to ask, like, well, you're interested in a particular question, but probably there's a lot of people in America and in Pennsylvania that are also interested in that question, and those are the kind of questions we're aiming for here. So, but thank you.
Is what built America. I was wondering if you can bring, instead of going to Pittsburgh to be able to bring it to Bethlehem, to Lehigh Valley to be able to bring that up again.
Steel?
Bethlehem Steel
Sure,
is what built the U.S.
Sure.
And I know you are looking between at Pittsburgh. I was wondering if you can look at Lehigh Valley to be able to grow what made America great.
Okay. Well, I think we do need a lot more local production of steel. There's not enough steel made in America. That is for sure. So, yeah. So let's move.
Hey, Elon. With the emergence of AI and robotics, you've talked a lot about a possible age of abundance.
Yes.
What are some of the steps that you believe should be necessary to lay the foundation that it's more of a utopia for humanity than a dystopia? And while you answer that, would you mind signing a unauthorized biography written by my 6-year-old son, and possibly a copy of my Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Sure. If it's for a 6-year-old, sure. The biggest thing for development of AI is that it be maximally truth-seeking, which sounds like an obvious thing, but what I see being done with a lot of the major AI companies is not truth-seeking. They're aiming to be politically correct, which means lying, essentially. So, I think this is absolutely fundamental. I mean, like an example being, for example, when Google came out with Google Gemini, and people asked it which is worse, global thermonuclear war or misgendering Caitlyn Jenner, and it said misgendering Caitlyn Jenner. So, which even Caitlyn Jenner said that is not correct. So that is that's an insane thing for an AI to say, because if you have some sort of omnipotent AI, it could conclude, logically, that the best way to avoid misgendering is for there to be no humans, because if no humans equals probability of misgendering equals 0. So you could get like some very dystopian outcomes if you do not have a maximally truth-seeking AI. I think that's very important. That's the reason for XAI. So. You can't have an AI built on a throne of lies.
Hi, Mr. Musk. My name is Dave Cochran. I am so ecstatic to be here. I do have the uttermost respect for you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm going to try to keep... I wanted to bring in my sketchbooks. I'm an inventor. They would have been stacked this high. But I'm not here to pitch my ideas. I really want to know, are you going to play a part in the office once we get Trump in there and do things and maybe incorporate the space program in other areas of the country? I tried to move to Florida. My mother's 90. I want to be part of it. I want to do it right here. And
Sure.
I want to bring manufacturing here and the space program.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see you involved. That's for sure.
Yes, I intend to help. I intend to do a lot of work to improve government efficiency. So I believe this is very achievable. So. Like I said, it's really like we need sensible regulations, but we can't have insane regulations. I mean, when I looked it up, I think there was something like 428 agencies federal agencies that exist. That's almost two agencies created per year since the founding of the country. So, yeah, exactly. Not to mention the NGOs that. What's weird about a lot of these NGOs is they're actually funded by the government. So it's like, it's a government-funded, non-governmental organization, which is like, it just ends up being a self-licking ice cream cone. It's like bizarre. How do you shut it off, You have to shut it off at the government level. So, yeah, I think there's, I do intend to, if I'm, assuming President Trump is willing, and I think he is, I intend to play a significant role in, in making government efficient. I tend to be quite literal, so it just, and I think it would free up. I think it would allow for so many things to be done that are incredibly difficult to get done. Like the Boring Company, was trying to dig a tunnel, just a road tunnel under the Colorado River in Texas, and has been waiting 2 years for a permit for a simple tunnel under a river. Because it's a federal river, it's 2 years, and still no end in sight. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Can't get anything done. It's illegal. So.
On the subject of transparency, January 6th, there were there's a single attempted act of violence where the 2 pipe bombs at the Democrat and Republican headquarters. The government released a picture of the pipe bomber sitting on a bench, talking on a cell phone. It was time-stamped We know there's video cameras probably every 5 feet in DC. Right. Why haven't they announced who the pipe bomber is?
Well, maybe he's a federal employee. Maybe. Maybe.
Clear on Twitter. Some detectives on Twitter, I think, were pretty clear that it was obvious who it was. Well, can't they just tell the truth?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think if President Trump is elected, we're going to get to the bottom of a lot of these things, you know. So I think it's going to be like massive data dump, and then have at it. Take a look at all the information, you know. So yeah, so I mean, maybe there's an innocent explanation, maybe there isn't. Let's find out.
Hi, Elon. I know you're a bit busy, but were you to start another company, what would it be? Would it have anything to do with helping more schools be like Astronova? And what is the future of Astronova?
Well, I have to say, I'm not chomping at the bit to start another company. I have 17 jobs, and then another one, I suppose, with the Department of Government Efficiency. Although I think improving government efficiency will be really helpful in advancing space and a bunch of other things, and just freeing, you know, people around the country to you know, do what they want to do. I think as far as education is going, I think actually AI is going to potentially be a very good educator. You know, because the AI basically will know all the facts and is infinitely patient and can move as fast as you'd like. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for AI teachers to be extremely good. So, thanks.
Elon, thanks for all you do, and congratulations on getting Booster 12 back to the Megazilla.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, this SpaceX team is just is an incredibly talented team. It's an honor to work with them.
Yeah. Very impressive. And relating to X, would it be possible to train XAI on federal, state, and local regulations and financial data so that the citizen journalists can investigate and analyze all the finances and all the laws and regulations so that they can help identify the discrepancies that exist?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. So, I mean, there is this fundamental challenge that happens, which is that laws and rules and regulations are immortal. And so every year, there's more rules, regulations, and laws, and they don't die because they're immortal, but we're humans, we're immortal, and we do die. So that you get this accumulation over time. Historically, what has caused a reset of the laws and regulations has been war. Now, we'd like to ideally avoid war, but we still need this massive reset of regulations and reduction of regulations, ideally without the forcing function of war. But it is an interesting thing that the longer that there is peace and prosperity, the more rules and regulations will accumulate until eventually everything's legal. So that's why I think it is essential that we have a very conscious effort to reduce the laws and regulations, or eventually no one will be allowed to do anything. Yeah.
Hey Elon, I'm Lucas, and I have a question for you. What's the best advice for your children?
Best advice for the kids. Well, generally my advice is just to try to be as useful as possible to society. You know, be a good person and just try to, you know, give more than you take. You know, that's a big deal. Yeah.
Hi, Elon. I'm curious with the explosion of AI and ML, what your thoughts are on reforming the Nuclear Regulatory Commission so that we can provide all the electricity needs, not only for hyperscalers, AI and ML, but also to make electricity more affordable for citizens.
Yeah, in fact, I think that the dangers of nuclear power are greatly overstated. So I think that we should, especially with the latest technologies. I mean, you can actually make a nuclear reactor where it is literally impossible to melt it down if you tried to melt it down. Like if your goal was to melt down this nuclear reactor, the new designs, you will not succeed. You can go in there with a flamethrower and a whatever, doesn't matter. And you bomb the place, doesn't matter, it's still not going to melt down. So if you're in a situation like that with advanced nuclear reactors, then there shouldn't be any regulatory issues with that, because what really matters is the safety of the public. So I think that there should be significant reform on the nuclear front.
Mr. Musk, my name is Dave. Excuse the patch. I had Mohs surgery a couple days ago. It's super embarrassing. But it took a lot to get up here with that. I integrate AI into businesses, and we have to use OpenAI right now because they're the only API. And so we have to train it like crazy to get it not to do woke things. Hoping that Grok has an API soon.
It will actually. We'll be releasing the API very soon.
Oh, awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
great. My Cybertruck drove me here this evening, my son and I, so thank you for that product. And my question is Space Force. I'm assuming there's been some discussions with President Trump about Space Force, and I'm just curious if he does win. Obviously, Doge, yes, awesome. But
Indeed.
Secondly, what do you think Space Force might look like in 10 years?
Well, I think Space Force should really aim higher. I think when the public hears Space Force, you sort of think Star Trek, Starfleet Academy. You don't think let's make a slightly better spy satellite. But the way that Space Force is interpreted by the military currently is let's make a slightly better spy satellite. Like that's like 5% better. I'm like, no, that's not what people want. People want Starfleet Academy. Yeah. We want the Star Trek Enterprise. That's what people want. A real Space Force where it's like we're actually in space. So that's what I mean. Like we want to aim to have like a permanently crewed base on the moon. We want to build a city on Mars. We want to be exploring the moons of Jupiter, the asteroid belt, the entire solar system. And if you decide that you want to go to Mars, you should be able to go to Mars. That would be super exciting. Be a real spacefaring civilization would be fantastic. Yeah.
Hi, Elon. You've spoken about the challenge of falling global birth rates and American birth rates. Is that something you've spoken to Donald Trump about? And it seems like the richer we get, the worse it gets, and you can't really pay people to have more. Nothing seems to work. What ideas do you have for that? And is that something that you have spoken to him about? Thank you.
I have mentioned it to him. And it is a quandary. Like if you look at the sort of the rise and fall of civilizations, you realize that actually what ended most civilizations was a low birth rate. That is an extended period of prosperity seems to cause birth rates to plummet. And it's somewhat counterintuitive. When a society is under stress, birth rates increase. So if you look at, say, ancient Rome, the birth rates were super high when they were fighting the Carthaginians, and Rome's very life was at stake. Birth rates were all-time high. After they defeated Carthage and ruled the Mediterranean, the birth rates plummeted. And to such a degree that Julius Caesar even tried to pass laws like in 50 BC or something like that to give an incentive for any Roman citizen that would have a second or third child. So they were having birth rate issues in 50 BC, which is pretty wild. And that was also true of really basically every civilization throughout history. So it's how do you avoid this birth rate collapse, the trap of, it's a sort of prosperity trap. I don't have a great answer for that, except I think if we can at least bring it to conscious awareness that we need to continue as a civilization, like no humans, no humanity. And at least it's a topic of conversation. It's like, hey, it's something we should do something about. And we definitely want to get rid of this ridiculous notion that there are too many humans on Earth. This is false. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of people who think that the environment can't sustain this number of humans. It's totally untrue. We could double the population of Earth and still not have a significant environmental impact. So, you know, like, if you could fit all of the humans on one floor in the city of New York. So that's like 8 billion humans sounds like a lot, but actually, you know, if you're, say, if you're in an airplane and you're going from here to LA or wherever, and you look down, how often do you see a human? You know, if your goal was to drop a ball on a human while flying from here to LA, you'd have a hard time. So the actual density of humans is very low. And Earth is capable of easily having far more humans, and should, in my opinion. Yeah.
Hi, Elon. It's an honor to speak with you, and I just want to personally thank you for buying Twitter and saving free speech.
You're welcome.
So a couple months ago, I was tired of being a keyboard warrior, and I signed up to be a Trump Force 47 captain.
Great.
And I've knocked over 200 doors, just trying to get people to get out and vote for President Trump.
Great. Thank you. That's super important. I mean, you know, as was asked to me at the beginning of this talk, you know, why am I so involved in politics this time? It's because I think this time it's a fork in the road, and it's I think frankly I think we're doomed. If Trump doesn't win, I think we're doomed. I think we're in the doom loop at that point. So he's got to win. And I think for those who are in areas that are, you know, sort of normally it's like deep blue areas, if you think you won't get assaulted, put a Trump Vance sign on your lawn. I mean, a lot of it is like people are like, they need social proof. They need evidence that they're not alone. Yes. And so probably a lot of people in these like nominally blue areas would actually vote for Trump if they thought someone else was voting for Trump too. And so if you just put the sign on the lawn and be sort of loud and proud, then I think people will be like, you know what, I think I'll vote for Trump too.
So I have a rhetorical question. Can you buy Disney and fire David Muir?
Now that's a real interesting idea.
So DEI has become a cancer in our corporations.
It really has.
And I was wondering if there's anything realistically that the federal government can do, or the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, to put a stop to this.
Yeah, I think they should, the government should be actively saying that it is illegal to discriminate on the basis of race, gender, or anything else other than merit. It is illegal. It's not right. It's you know, it's not morally right, it's not legally right, and it doesn't matter who you're discriminating against. The point is not to have discrimination, but a different type of discrimination. The point is to not have discrimination. That's the whole idea. Yeah.
Good evening, Elon. First of all, thank you for all you're doing, and thank you for being you.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. Thank you.
In the book, All That Glitters, the mystery behind the glitter conspiracies is revealed, and the details of Mission X is exposed, where SpaceX is utilized to deposit a layer of glitter above the atmosphere, which deflects the red and infrared light away and cools the planet. My understanding is that this is sort of being kept secret because you don't want environmentalists or other people to come in and regulate and stop it from happening. Why isn't the public being made aware that it is essential that Donald Trump be elected for this to happen, because Trump will not have to ask permission to save the planet. He'll just do it. And I'm just wondering if you feel the same sentiment. And then there's also been some rumors on the internet that you're going to not only do this, but then you're going to use it and charge the other countries of the world to support it. You're going to lower the deficit, another source of income, and there'll be no more wars between electric vehicles and oil fossil fuels. So why won't you tell people, elect Trump, and this will happen? Because if it's anybody but Trump, regulations or,
Yeah.
it only takes one person to complain and it won't happen.
Well, I think it's for sure true that when we've got so many regulatory agencies and there's so many rules and regulations, I mean, like basically Washington, D.C. is like a sea of brake pedals. Like everyone's got a brake pedal, but nobody's got an accelerator. We're going to add some accelerators. So, because all they want to do in D.C. is stop anything. It's just a sea of, I just call it a sea of brake pedals. Like it's brake pedals in all directions. And how can you make progress if you've got a sea of brake pedals? It's not possible. So we're going to get rid of a bunch of the brake pedals and add accelerators.
My question was, how do we stop the steal? And is there a way to have a database on X where we can track all the votes? We all send our votes to you to track it, and then we can tell who wins? Or there's so much, even down in Georgia right now, they're already flipping votes on the machines. And how do we stop the steal?
Well, I recommend posting any evidence that you have for voting fraud or irregularities or causes for concern. Just post it on the X platform, and then people can support it or say, well, either support it or debunk it, one of the two. But I mean, I do think there's generally an issue that we have, a fundamental issue, which is unless we have voter ID, and like. My opinion is we should have no, and I say this as a technologist who likes technology, and I like computers, but we should not have computers do voting tabulation at all. It's far too easy to hack a computer. I know how to hack a computer. And government software is the easiest thing to hack. So it's not the best software. So we should, in my opinion, we should have paper ballots only. It should be in-person voting with ID. End of story.
Hi, Elon. Thank you for everything you do. Feel free to answer this question in 3 words. Some people claim that you're hurting Tesla's brand and sales by supporting Trump. What do you say to those people?
Well, I mean, Tesla sales are actually doing great, we're hitting all-time highs. So I think, really people care about the quality of a product, and as opposed to the, whether they agree or disagree with the CEO's views. I mean, the CEO of any given company is going to have political views. But at the end of the day, what matters is that Tesla makes a great product, and people like buying great products. So that's it.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, thanks for coming and being here. I think I understand your vision for challenging the existing cell phone syndicate, but I want to know when the X phone is coming out.
Man, I sure hope we don't have to make a phone. That's a lot of work. I mean, if there's like, I mean, well, the idea of making a phone makes me want to die. But if we have to make a phone, we will, but we will aspire not to make a phone. I do think that the various companies and Apple and Google Android and whatnot, they need to make sure they don't have a heavy hand in like the App Store and whatnot, or they will create a forcing function for there to be a competitor. But man, I dread the idea of making a phone. But if that turns out to be necessary, we'll do it. But hopefully, it is not necessary. Yeah. So, all right.
Hey, Elon. First things first is JCal is on my cap table.
All right. Great.
And my question is, I grew up in Spain, right near where your brother got married.
Oh, cool.
And in Asturias. And comparing cities back home to cities here, it's like incomparable. How does one fix, I go to our great city of Philadelphia, how does one fix the problem of people living on the streets? It's not talked about enough.
It isn't. No, I agree.
I go to Kensington a lot, and it is such a horrible sight seeing these poor people. At what point do you have the freedom to slowly kill yourself like that on the streets, and how do you fix that?
Well, I think there's not an easy answer to that, but I think you cannot have open-air drug bazaars because obviously that's going to be a magnet. While I think most people can resist the lure of drugs, some people cannot, and you just cannot let there be easy access to drugs and have it just be open there on the street. Then there are also situations where somebody is like just fundamentally mentally ill, like not a little bit, mentally ill in a dangerous way. Dangerous to others. And I think if somebody is incurably mentally ill and a danger to others, we need to have some kind of asylum for them. There's no, because the other, it has to be done. The word homeless is a misnomer. Because homeless sounds like someone who got a little behind on their mortgage payments, and if they just got a job offer, they'd be back on their feet. That does not describe the people in Kensington. Okay, at all. So, if the issue is one, if there are violent drug zombies, they must be taken off the streets, and they won't go willingly. So there's no choice. Now, I'm a big believer in empathy. I think we should have empathy. We should have empathy for our fellow human beings, But what I see on the left is a lot of shallow empathy, sort of empathy that's skin deep, essentially. Very thin empathy. They have empathy for what they term homeless people when they're actually violent drug zombies, but they lack empathy for the victims of the violent drug zombies. And so we should have deep empathy for everyone, not shallow empathy. Have empathy for the victims of the criminals, not just the criminals.
Hi, Leon. My name is Hans Moyer. I brought some plans here to solve all our problems. I'm going to give them to this young lady here, okay?
Wow, okay.
I have some good news. The Washington Times, the most conservative voice in our capital, endorsed President Trump for another term, so that's good news.
Great.
My question today to you is when your children come to you and they ask you why is so much war in our world, what do you answer them as far as where does peace begin?
Well, the reality is actually, if you say war per capita, it's actually quite low. So that it's not that there's no war, it's just that we now hear about war anywhere at all. So, but if you compare where we are today versus, say, last century with World War II and World War I, where millions of people were dying per year, we actually have, on a global basis, it's actually very peaceful. that is not to say that there aren't some terrible things happening somewhere. There are 8 billion people on Earth. So, and in fact, what the sort of legacy mainstream media tends to do is try to answer the question, what is the worst thing that happened on Earth today? That's generally what like the newspaper tries to answer. What's the worst thing that happened on Earth? It's a big world. There's some pretty bad things. So, actually the reality is that there is only a small amount of war occurring in the world compared to the past. Now, historically, humans have had a lot of war, of course. But I think actually for countries, say, like the United States, the issue is that we've had peace for such a long time that we are a victim of prosperity. It's sort of, and this, when you have peace for such a long time, you have this accumulation of rules and regulations that binds society. That's why I call it this, the slow strangulation by overregulation is what happens in peacetime, and a dramatic decline in the birth rate. And we, you know, the decline in the birth rate is it's not something we've ever evolved to react to. Like if you said, like that there was like a Thanos situation where somebody would snap their fingers and half of people would be dead. You're like, well, that's terrible. Well, that's actually what's happening with the birth rate. Yet there is no reaction. Why is there no reaction? At the end of the day, you still have half the people. I mean, look at, say, South Korea. Birth rate is 1/3 replacement. 1/3. That means if you fast forward to the future, 2/3 of South Korea is gone. Poof, gone. More than Thanos. Why is there no reaction? Why are we not reacting to the absence of children? We should have, in my opinion, just as strong a reaction to the absence of children as to the death of humans. Because in both cases, the people are gone.
Hey, Elon, how you doing? Great job saving Twitter from the woke mind virus. And I don't know if you're a gamer, but...
I am. What gave it away? Because I do post frequently on the subject.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice, me too.
I do actually love it. People ask me, like, what are your hobbies? I'm like, well, I talk to my friends and family and I play video games.
Yeah, I left my Diablo 4 to come here, so
yeah.
I made it here. But the...
yeah, exactly.
But the gaming industry is starting to see some results too, being a victim of the woke mind
totally.
virus.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I was wondering, with recent flops like Conquer,
make video games great again.
Yeah, exactly. With recent flops like Conquered and Dustborn, games are prioritizing pronouns and things like that instead of actual gameplay. Yeah. So I was wondering, have you ever thought about making your own gaming studio and making an impact in the industry?
You know, if there's one thing I could say that would be a fun thing to do, it would be to start a gaming studio. Because I do actually intrinsically love video games. And I think actually if you apply sort of AI to video games, you could really make it just some incredible, make incredible video games. So yeah, I think just generally for content, the problem with like the sort of DEI and the woke mind virus is that it kills the art. You know, it's just like as soon as when you can see something that is forcibly imposed on the story and it's discordant, it destroys the art. And now it's hard to enjoy the story. It kicks you out of the story because you can just feel that you're being lectured.
We're seeing it in movies and TV and all that kind of stuff. It's like, let me just enjoy my video games.
Exactly. I know, come on. Not video games, too. All right.
Hi, Elon. As a child of science fiction and being raised on Asimov and the grandeur and the beauty that came through his stories, I'm teaching my daughter the same thing. She's 6 years old.
Yeah.
And we've had conversations watching all of your rocket launches. And she's asked me, when can we go for a walk on the moon? So I have to ask, what's a realistic timeline for me to take my wife and my daughter to the moon and go for a walk?
Well, that's a great question. Well, with our goal with Starship is to enable anyone to go to the moon or Mars or elsewhere if they want to. And I think that is actually genuinely possible with a fully reusable rocket. You know, the fundamental breakthrough that's needed to make life multiplanetary and for us to be a spacefaring civilization is full and rapid reusability, which is what we have for every other form of transport. You know, we've got, you know, our cars are reusable, our planes are reusable, bicycles, horses, they're all reusable. But rockets historically have not been reusable. They've been single use. And that means you've got to have a whole new rocket every time you fly, which obviously makes it extremely expensive. But with Starship, we're close to achieving full and rapid reusability. And that then drops the cost of space travel by literally 10,000%, like no exaggeration. It's like 10,000% improvement. It's insane. Well, it's the difference between, you know, if you have to refuel your car or get a new car. What's that? That's a really big cost difference. You know, and imagine, and the situation historically with rockets is like if you went on a journey, if it was a car, you'd have to get a car and then tow a smaller car behind you to leave the other car there and then come back in the little car. Which is insane. You need a second car just for the return journey. So that has made space insanely expensive. But once it's fully reusable, now the cost is simply whatever it takes to refill the rocket. That's it. And that's a massive change. So, thanks.
Hi, Elon. My name's Amanda. I'm a single homeschooling mom of a beautiful daughter. I chose to do this because of the inefficient education being provided through this country's public school system.
Yeah, I think our education system is messed up. I mean, they're just like indoctrinating kids with like crazy ideas.
California alone gets approximately $23 billion in federal funding, which only accounts for 6 to 9% of funding for the state's K through 12 schools.
Right.
Yet they still have the lowest graduation rates of any state in the U.S.
Yes.
How can we better use our funding federally to make sure our students in public school receive a proper education that prepares them for the workforce without the misallocation of taxpayer federal funding that the students seem to not be benefiting from anyway?
Well, I mean, if we make the funding contingent on student performance, then I think that would be a difference. I mean, right now there's no feedback loop. So schools can be terrible, teachers can be terrible, and nothing happens. And it doesn't matter if there's what the results are. So if you have no feedback loop for improvement, if there's neither punishment nor reward, there's no reward for excellence and there's no punishment for failure, then you're going to have basically communism. And then it's bread lines and ugly shoes. So we don't want that. Yeah, I mean, I met someone a few months ago who was telling me how he grew up, and his father was an ambassador, and he went to Hungary when it was still under communism, and he remembers going into a store and trying to buy something, and you had to basically beg the store clerk to allow you to buy something. Okay, I was like, it's like, please do me a favor and allow me to buy this thing. That's how crazy it gets. But if you've got no feedback loop, essentially the store clerk knows that they'll never get fired, doesn't matter what happens, and they could be great or they could be terrible, nothing happens. Then you get the outcome you should expect, which is terrible results. Whatever you incent will happen. And so we need to have an incentive for excellence, where there's reward for excellence and there's punishment for failure. That's it.
Hi, Elon. My name is Finn, and I actually go to your alma mater, the Wharton School of Finance.
All right.
And I serve as finance director of the UPenn College Republicans. Shout out CRs.
That's good.
Shout out Penn CRs. And I just want to ask you, I know like this is the moment. We're in Pennsylvania and we need to re-elect Donald J. Trump as U.S. president. How do you recommend I do my part in going about that and being a fearless leader on the campus that you were once a part of?
Right.
But also navigating these layers and layers of just communists that kind of control every institution in this country?
Well, I mean, I think just, well, with respect to this election, like I said, I think being loud and proud is a good idea. Like, wear a Trump T-shirt, put a sign on the lawn, you know, wear a MAGA hat, you know, type of thing. I mean, honestly, it's like at this point, it's just like, yeah. And then if people confront you, say, yeah, that's right. That's how it goes. So, yeah. So, yeah, man. but like I said, I think if this really is a pivotal election, super big deal. You know, it's really a difference between freedom and opportunity, or oppression and you know, communism, essentially. That's what we're looking at. So I think this is if Donald Trump is not elected, I think this is the last election. Yeah.
Hey, Elon. This is not planned, but I'm also a current undergraduate studying business at the University of Pennsylvania, who, as a young man, really takes great inspiration in your work and story. Earlier, you mentioned that the government deficit is growing at an unparalleled rate and needs to be stopped through a separate department for efficiency. Given the fact that government spending is increasing and taxes are unlikely to get cut in a meaningful manner, how do you think the United States can best decrease our government deficit to invest in the future of our generation? And secondly, and more importantly, what advice do you have for young men today who are seeking to achieve their full potential? Thanks, and go Quakers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I really think we've got to cut government spending. Well, let me put it this way. Ultimately, there will be no choice but to cut government spending. And when the government runs a deficit, that is a tax. And it's a tax on people who are saving money. It's a tax on people who least deserve it, really. You know, because inflation, so that everyone understands, the only thing that causes inflation is government overspending, because the checks never bounce. When the federal government writes them, the checks never bounce. So government overspending is taxation. It's just a pernicious form of taxation that shows up in the rising price of goods and services. So the only answer is to dramatically cut government spending and have it be efficient. You know, spend on what is only what is necessary, and spend it well. That's the path to prosperity, and any other path leads to doom. So it's got to be done. Yeah. I mean, in terms of general advice, I'd say it's like try to be as useful and productive as possible. You know, I do think we have an over-allocation of really smart people in America in finance and law. So I mean, that's both a compliment and a criticism. That we should have more smart people in sort of manufacturing and basically producing goods and services than in finance and law. I think we over-allocate to finance and law in the U.S. So, you know, like a good test would be like you're on a desert island. Who do you want with you? A lawyer? Probably not. So it's not to say that we shouldn't have lawyers, but just we should maybe not have as many lawyers. You know, and so you know, I think if you want to say like, what would be a useful skill to have if you're stranded on a desert island, and aim for that.
Hey, Elon, thanks very much for coming, and thanks for everything you're doing for the human species. And I wanted to know what you think, like where you see humans 1,000 years from now, assuming there isn't a nuclear situation and what you think about, you know, the nuclear situation currently and non-proliferation. And you talk a lot about, you know, at these events and in your interviews, you know, going to Mars in order to safeguard humanity. But there's a lot of things that can occur that could affect the whole solar system. So what do you plan to do about that as well?
The whole solar system? I mean, well, look, I think if we can just, I do think that there is an important threshold where if we're able to make life multiplanetary, meaning like that you can get to the point on Mars where Mars can grow by itself even if the resupply ships from Earth stop coming, that's the critical threshold where the probable lifespan of civilization is dramatically greater. So it's not enough just to go to Mars and have like a small base or something like that. You've got to actually have enough resources on Mars that if resupply ships stop coming for any reason, and it could be that things on Earth ended with a bang or a whimper, and currently it's trending to end, it's sort of tragic, currently things are trending to end with a whimper in adult diapers because of the lack of birth rate. So, but as soon as we can make life multiplanetary, sustainably multiplanetary, the probable lifespan of civilization is dramatically greater. And I think that's really the fundamental test, is can we get to that point before civilization collapses? Can we make life sustainably multiplanetary before something happens on Earth to prevent that from occurring? And if we do, the future is exciting and bright. And Mars may one day come back and save Earth, just like America came back and saved Europe and saved the rest of the world. 3 times last century. 3 times. 3 times America saved the world last century. And what a disaster would have been if America had not existed. And one day, Mars may play that same role on Earth.
Good evening, Mr. Musk. I just wanted to ask, as a citizen of the United States and the United Kingdom, if you could get Donald Trump to pressure the United Kingdom and the EU to get you into those summits, to get more American businesses into Europe and not to be so aggressive.
Well, I think there's some weird things going on in Europe. There's a lot of, I mean, although we've got quite a lot of bureaucracy here, but in Europe they've got country-level bureaucracy, and then they've got EU bureaucracy on top of that. You know, I mean, the EU headquarters in Brussels is a monument to bureaucracy. It's really next level. You know, and they unlike America, they don't have a First Amendment. You don't actually have freedom of speech in Europe. So, you know, we're kind of like a pretty rare situation having freedom of speech. So, you know, like there's crazy stuff happening in the UK where you know, people are getting like 2-3 year prison sentences for Facebook posts. Yeah, like I'm like, I don't think I should go to, you know, visit Britain, because I'm like, they're gonna like drag out some tweet and say 2 years in prison for this tweet or something bullshit like that, you know. So anyway, I think that's, you know, with Trump elected, we can put a stop to that stuff and say like, no way, no, nope. No throwing people in prison for random social media posts. That's crazy. Yeah, it's happened a lot. No, I mean, it's so crazy in Britain that they actually have released convicted pedophiles in order to imprison people for making social media posts. That is a real thing that happened. Insane. Yeah.
Hi, Elon. I'm a medical student. Unfortunately, radical ideology, including gender-affirming surgery, chest feeding, as they call it, has infiltrated our curriculum. Unfortunately, if you speak out against this, there are grave consequences. I have to meet in private with like-minded individuals to discuss this. I'm worried about the health of our patients and our citizens, and more importantly, the general trust in the medical system.
Yes.
As a society, how do we push out these ideologies, but also, I guess, prevent, speak out and have freedom of speech without facing the fear of retribution?
Well, elect Trump, honestly. The problem is that the government institutions, under the formerly liberal left, are pushing for censorship, under the guise of something being hate speech or being their favorite word, disinformation. I find it hilarious when CNN was complaining and saying that I'm pushing disinformation. I'm like, are you kidding? CNN? Look in the mirror. Should rename himself DNN, Disinformation News Network. It's nonstop bullshit. But obviously it should be okay to debate things. Words are not violence. There's a big difference, and we need the sort of, you need to be able to speak your mind and say what you want without severe repercussions. But there is I mean, it's wild, but like prominent Democrats multiple times have said the Constitution is an obstacle. They want to get rid of the First Amendment. They will if they can. It's insane. I strongly believe, with respect to any kind of gender surgeries, there should not be any permanent changes to children. This is crazy. A child cannot consent. It's like if you need to be 18 to have a tattoo, well then I think you need to be 18 to have, to be, sterilized. At least you need to be 21 to have alcohol. So it should be illegal to take actions on children that permanently affect their future, and they may subsequently come to regret. Like, I believe in maximizing people's happiness, but allowing a child to do something, crazy during their teenage years that affects them for the rest of their lives is not doing good for that child at all. So leave the kids alone. So, yeah.
Hi, Mr. Musk. I'll keep it as short as possible. Right now, I'm also a student at Penn, and I was wondering what you think education in college in particular is the best, and probably more importantly, the worst at preparing people for the real world. Thank you.
Well, I do think it's important to study. I think it's good to study a wide range of things. I think it is important to study, I think, engineering and physics, so that you understand how reality works. I think it's also important to study history, and literature. So it's not purely a matter of studying, engineering and maths and physics. But I think if you don't, if somebody does not study physics at all, then it's hard to tell the difference between what is a real technology and what is witchcraft. So, physics allows you to sort of distinguish between witchcraft and reality. And you sort of learn, well, why does an airplane fly? Why does a microwave heat food? Why do these devices work? How is your phone able to receive information through the air, invisibly? If you study physics and engineering, you get to understand these things. But I think it's also important to study, history and philosophy and literature. So I'd go with a wide range of subjects, but make sure that physics is in there somewhere. Yeah. Well, I think if somebody's like the CEO of an airplane company, they should know how airplanes fly. Yeah. Call me crazy.
Hi, Elon. I'm in college right now studying computer science, so I've taken a big interest in AI and specifically your work in it. You've talked a lot about AGI and how an omnipotent AI could make the decision to kill all humans to avoid misgendering them.
Yes.
As you know, the way LLMs work, large language models, is they just predict the next word that comes in a sequence. So how do you see it going from something like that to something that can think and make decisions with the power to do that?
Well, I think that's happening pretty quickly. So, yeah, I mean, I think when you distill any given field down into its first principles, like essentially, I think you can almost think of intelligence like a compression problem, where for any given field, it can be physics or any field, you can distill things down to their most basic axiomatic elements, the things that are extremely likely to be true, and then you can reason up from there to reach a cogent conclusion. I think if you apply that sort of first principles compression to a field, and then you decompress it and can test the results against reality, then AI is capable of innovation and discovering new physics. But this is a esoteric subject. That's how humans have done it, essentially. Physics has been about figuring out the formulas that define reality. But you can also think of it as the compression or decompression, the compression or decompression formulas for reality. If you have a starting point and you run the physics formulas, you will eventually get a reality like us. Economics is a simple subject.
Hi, Elon. My name is Lev Parado, and I am the designer of Asteroid, the zero-G indicator for the Polaris Dawn crew. My question is, when are we going to send kids under the age of 18 to space? We need to have other generations to space to start a colony.
We do, absolutely. Well, I think it should be, if Starship is ultimately successful, which I think it will be if it's not stopped by the government, then anyone who wants to go to the moon or Mars or elsewhere will be able to go, which includes kids and families and anyone who wants to go and, kind of homestead on Mars, essentially, which I think would be very exciting. It will not be, to be clear, going to Mars at first will be difficult and dangerous. So not a luxury expedition, but a difficult one, much as the creation of America was. Thank you. Yeah, I think I could probably do a few more questions, and then we'll call it a night.
Thank you. This is such an honor. Thank you so much, Mr. Musk. I want to thank you for everything you're doing, and God bless you and your family.
Thank you.
We're talking about such amazing things, our future, but to bring everybody back to reality in 18 days, it's the decision on whether or not that future will happen. So we're in Pennsylvania, the battleground state, and there's an anxiety because they're saying that we're not going to have a count for a couple days. So we don't know exactly what to do. You had suggested using Twitter to show what we're seeing. If you could elaborate on that part of it.
Yeah. I mean, really, essentially, if you have any concerns or you feel like there's anything inappropriate happening, then you should definitely post it on the X platform so that people are aware of it. Yeah.
Since you have all of our information, I personally would volunteer if, who knows what's going to happen. If you need bodies for Chad counting, whatever had happened in the past, I would volunteer, and I would think everybody else in here would be offering to help.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you. All right, I'll just do two more questions. So one more there and one more there. Okay.
Hi, Mr. Musk. I'm not able to vote yet, but I still enjoy educating myself about our political world. My question is, how can a young American prepare themselves and inspire others for a rapidly evolving political and social world?
Well, I guess you want to. What's the future you want to build? I guess a future where, I don't know, there's immense prosperity for all, and we're out there exploring the stars. I mean, that's something that I find, really exciting. Reach for the stars, yeah. That's what I think. Yeah. So,
My name's Brody. I'm a college Republican at JMU. Today's actually my 19th birthday.
happy birthday.
A week ago, I would not have thought that I would have the opportunity to talk to you. I was just wondering, what advice would you give to a college freshman? And also, why hasn't Tesla bought Rivian?
Well, I wish them. I wish Rivian the best. I hope they do well. The car industry is a very difficult industry. There's only two car companies, U.S. car companies, that haven't gone bankrupt, and that's Ford and Tesla. And Rivian's going to have a hard time. It's just insanely difficult to compete in the car industry. That is a hard problem, I have to say. In fact, if it were not for not just one, but two technology discontinuities, one being electrification and the other being autonomy, I think Tesla could not succeed without solving both. Not just one, but both. So, all right, well, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. It's been an honor. It's been an honor talking, and I'd just like to encourage everyone out there to just get everyone registered. The shot clock is running out. We've got until midnight on Monday. Get every friend, family member, strangers on the street, everyone you can find, get them registered to vote. And let's win this election. Let's go.